Hello, Chris here with another episode of the Make It podcast, and I'm here with my good friend and co-founder Nicholas Buggs and our esteemed guest Nathan Rigaud. Gentlemen, say hello.
Look at the Nathan looked at me. He was like, I don't know.
Yes, who's going first here? Well, I'll go first. Sure.
Go, do it, do it.
Hey, well, thank you so much for having me on. First off, I'm excited to be here. Excited to talk to you guys. This is one of my favorite things is to talk about movies, making movies, creative ideas, what goes wrong with movies, what goes right with movies. I love all of it. So happy to be here to talk with you guys about that and share a little bit about what I'm doing.
Absolutely, man. Thank you so much for joining us. Can you talk a little bit about your background?
Nick didn't get to introduce
himself. Exactly. Chris was going to jump right past me.
We're
like I don't matter.
I only half mean for Nick to say hello.
Come on, man, that's jacked up.
No, people know. No, it's because people know you. They're enamored with you.
Yes, but he's you see Nathan. That's what I'm saying. He's a good guy, right? Like he's very gentlemanly in that way, and I appreciate.
He passed the Bronx. He passed the Bronx tail.
There you go.
He
Exactly.
opened the door.
Opened my door for
you.
That's right.
Okay, Nick, please say hello.
Oh yes. Well, now I can say hello, and I do want to tell Nathan. I was like, when Chris comes on and he does his, opening, we have that 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and he does his hello. I got to tell you, bro, I can't help but watch the eyebrows. Like it's a thing that I do. I love it. There's such excitement in his face every time we open up this podcast, and that's how you see if you see those eyebrows lift, like you're in for a good time. Yeah, see, game time. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it's true. I bet it. I need to look at that. I bet there's a super cut editor Kate can make of me doing the eyebrows over and over again. Hello. Because it's kind of like when you sing a high note, like you know how Mariah Carey's hand does like this when
you're right, exactly.
The notes. Like her hand can't help it. Her hand's possessed.
Right.
If something else is happening as she's trying to hit that head voice and get up into that 7th octave that she can hit.
We should get a supercut of that too. That'd be awesome.
Yeah. Just put it side by side with my eyebrows.
Right.
See if they match. See if it's like a thing. But anyway, Nate, tell us a little bit about your background and some of the wonderful things you've done in film and some of the things you're excited about in film going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. So I work as creative executive at Whale Animation Studios, which honestly, to be totally honest, is just a really fancy way of saying that I've put together this fun animation studio that we're really trying to get off the ground and get going. And I'm kind of in charge of steering that ship and getting the team of people going in the right direction to make some fun animated family content for people to enjoy. Our whole thing is we set up a motto very early, and that is we are collaborators, we are dreamers, and most importantly, we're storytellers. Collaborators, artists, dreamers, and most importantly, storytellers. Because that's really what it all comes down to. Any filmmaking, it doesn't matter what kind of filmmaking it is, even in documentary, the whole point is to tell a story. Whether it's a made-up story or if it's a true story, reenactment, whatever it is, we want to bring the audience in and captivate them with the story. And that goes back to the oldest of times where it's just a couple guys around a campfire and you want to be entertained. Hey, who's got a good story? Well, let me tell you about the big fish I caught, right? It's a story, right? Yeah. So that's kind of where I think all of us get this bug from and this excitement to do that. So where I kind of came from is I've been in the film industry since I was 17. Started really, really young in it, working as a production assistant, doing whatever I could. One of the first projects I did was a short film, and I held the boom mic on this really, just small little short film. And I knew immediately I didn't want to do sound, but I wanted to make movies. And so it was kind of from there, that's where we went. And since I've worked on some of the biggest films of the last handful of years. I live in Atlanta, Georgia, so very fortunate to have opportunities to work on really great films that come out here to shoot. Avengers Infinity War was one that I did. I worked on Venom, the first Venom with Tom Hardy. Devotion, Jungle Cruise, Ant-Man and the Wasp. It's just a handful of really fun films that I got to work on and see some of the the biggest of the big films are made, but then take some of those things I learned into small stuff that I would go more indie style shoots that I was working on, small shorts, indie features, smaller series, and bring kind of that wealth of knowledge, if you will, to that world and help try to elevate those as much as I can with whatever skill and whatever position that I'm fulfilling on that job. So just kind of a filmmaker through and through. I've worked on everything from random commercials and really bad music videos to now animated projects, because ultimately what I decided what I really wanted to do was tell stories and bring some of my stories to life and help other strong stories be brought to life as well.
Yeah, you mentioned the team. How many people are on the team?
So currently we have about 25 people at Whale Animation, and that's kind of including everyone from our writers, our animators, concept artists, some of our sound mixers and composers. And, none of those people are full-time. Really, the only full-time person is myself. I guess kind of the other full-time person is Kyle Woodiel, who's a partner of mine, a really good friend. We were hoping to get him on here today, but he's a little busy.
Yeah. Shout out to Kyle.
Unfortunately. Yep. So yeah, missed Beyonce calling. Kyle.
That's right.
It's a little inside joke for the audience. Before we got on, we were talking about how all the best things happen after you leave, or like when you don't go to the thing. At least that's the way your friends want to present it to you. Like your friends can't let you get away with not showing up, because then everything cool happened. And if you'd have been there, you'd experienced it. And Kyle, sorry, you're going to miss out on all this goodness. But no, that's great, because I wonder about your structure. 25 people. Is it a situation where everybody sort of has a share of the company and everybody puts in, or did you go and get Series A? How did you get this thing floated up?
So currently it's a LLC that's owned by other LLCs that I own. If you look at the business structure,
sure. The
goal is to ultimately work towards having board members, converting things to S Corp, divvying out shares.
Yeah.
I've always loved the concept, and this is something we can look up. Maybe our producer friends can help us look this up.
Yeah, producer Papa Bear, producer Joe.
There's a really great book that's written by the founder of Kinko's. That it's kind of the starting of Kinko's. So I don't know if you guys have ever heard anything about this. I've got to find the guy's name. Maybe it'll pop up for us. But the founder of Kinko's, he was a college student, and he was realizing that the college campuses were charging however much they were charging at the time, 10 cents per page or 22 cents per page for everyone going into the library and printing out their pages. Mm-hmm. And the name is Paul Orfai. I don't know. Watch that. But so Paul, founder of Kinko's.
You did so much better than I would have done. I'm just going to be honest with you.
So, so he saw an opportunity there. He's like, what if I just buy one of these printing machines and I charge half of what the school is charging, or a fourth of what the school is charging? I can be open 24 hours because we're all cramming for our papers. We can't even get in there after hours to print out our paper. People didn't have personal printers at this time.
Yeah.
And the book is called Copy This.
Mm-hmm.
Got it.
It's about the founder of Kinko's. And so he bought this machine and he started running it, and he rented this small room and he started just running copies for people and charging people a little bit, way less than the library. It was open 24 hours. He was generating jobs for other students. He's like, hey, come work the night shift. I need someone to run my printer at the night shift and get these. And it just ballooned into this huge company. And what he kept at the core value as he built that company, continued on, is he gave people shares of the company as the company grew. So his whole goal was, if I do well in this company, you're going to do well in this company, and to inspire you to do well, I'm going to give you shares in this. So each manager, when somebody came on as a manager for the next Kinko's, wherever that was, they ended up with a share of that company as well, until ultimately they sold to FedEx, and then technology kind of moved past the people's need for that company, right? Yeah. And it's a fraction of what it was. But in that time period when that was a big thing, he was this leader that kind of created this idea, and with the whole premise of inspiring people and giving them a vested interest in what they were doing. And so one thing that I really try to incorporate at Whale, and big thing for this, I'm not an animator. You know, people be like, oh, you have an animation company. Do you animate? Like, no, I don't animate.
Yeah.
My main job is to find the people to make this happen. I'm trying to go find the talent, whether it's a writer, whether it's a composer, an artist, and give them the tools they need and give them a platform to do what they really want to do so that they can perform that job to the best of their ability. And it's kind of, as that evolves and as it grows and as we're able to grow as a company to where we can do things like give people shares of the company. That's something that I really want to look at doing because I think you're ultimately going to have a lot of success in doing a system like that.
Yeah, and I just wanted to jump in, Chris, and just talk about the awesome branding that Nathan is doing today. You know, part of me is like, you know, how much of this does he know that he's doing versus how much is just slipping? And listen, I'm not talking about what he has, you know, said about the company. I'm just talking about the way he's just slipping these things in here. You know, earlier he said whale, right? He was talking about something like Whale Animation Studios. Then he was like, then we sit around the campfire. We talk about that big fish that we caught. And then I'm sitting here looking at this man wearing this shirt that he's wearing.
Whale shirt?
The whale shirt, you know what I'm saying? Like
this,
yeah, you know what I'm saying? This, I'm like, man, this guy's on top. Yeah, he's on his game. You know, I love it, dude. This is well played, sir. Well played.
He's salty in the best way possible.
Yeah, that's right.
He's very, very ocean centric here.
That's right.
I think what you're saying is great because it really does motivate people to work towards a common goal when you have a small startup. Yeah. Me and Nick have the same situation. We have like a document, and people who want to stay on with this and have that intention for a long time and really grind it out with us, if we notice that, we send them this document and they can invest with us. And then if we grow together. And if we don't, we all fail together. There's something great about that. There's something cool about being in the bunker with a bunch of dreamers trying to achieve a singular thing. I really like that example, and we will copy this in our online bookstore.
Yeah, check it out. It's a great book
on bookshop.org. Shout out to bookshop.org and Chris and Nick all-time faves book list.
Yeah, exactly.
Soon you'll be able to copy this.
I was gonna say, and just so you know, I still call it Kinko's. Like I had to go over there, like, and then they get bought out by FedEx. So then it's like I call it FedEx Kinko's. I'm like, crap, you know. It's like, but it's like a copy place is like Kinko's, like a tissue is a Kleenex.
It's for the Kleenex,
right? Yeah.
Well,
or soda is a Coke in the South. We just say Coke.
Yep.
One other thing I wanted to mention with a lot of that too. So when talking about indie filmmaking and helping bring indie films to life, one of the hardest things about making an indie movie is if not the hardest things, is just having the funds to do it.
Yeah.
Right. So a couple years back, right at I don't know if we can talk about it, but post-COVID, business partner and really good friend of mine, Mark Sunderland, directed a movie called Ebenezer Falls. And that's currently we finished that film. It's in the final post coloring phases and we're in the process of trying to sell it right now. But the biggest reason why we were able to complete that film is we very much so, we went to the crew members and we gave everybody an option, and myself included, because I'm a very minor producer role of it, but the stake of the game was essentially Mark, because this was his movie. But he came to everybody. He's like, look, you have two options. I can either give you a low rate, you know, whatever the rate is I would offer. It's not, you know, top rate, but indie movie rate. Or if you'd like, you can come aboard and we'll give you a share in the film, essentially. Yeah, so you will get at what your rate should be. Right. So if your rate is $500 a day as a sound mixer, let's say, whatever it is, that will be your vested interest into the film as considered your investment. And so the film cannot be sold for whatever that minimum of what people's minimum investment would be. So at the very least, you'd make that back, or you have the option to work at a lower rate. And that was one thing that he did for that film. And what was really surprising to a lot of us involved is the majority of the crew members just opted for taking essentially the invested rate, right? To invest their time into the film with the promise that if it sells, and everyone was aware, if it sells, it still hasn't sold, right? And we were very real with that. Like, you never want to take anything like that. You never want to take advantage of somebody, right? If you take advantage and you just take advantage of somebody's time and you sell the movie, you steal their money or whatever it is, you'll never be able to do that again. And all those people that you work with that had respect for you will never respect you again. So it's really important that if you ever present something like that, you very much so have to be someone of integrity and keep your word. And so, but we were very upfront. The rest of the producer team was very upfront with everybody. And to our surprise, there were people that were it was a 15-day shoot. We did it in 3-day blocks. We did 5 3-day blocks. And we were balancing between, a lot of our crew was either on Walking Dead or Black Panther 2. So we were balancing our shoot days.
Not bad, bro. Not bad.
Between the schedule of those two films, right?
Yeah.
So again, try not to take advantage of people's time too much, but they would come out on their weekends. We tried to keep our shoot times to 10-hour days, which we did every day except one. And we, to our surprise, even some of the crew members that were initially taking a low rate decided to switch and do the rest of the time at their invested rate. And so, because we focus on trying to, that team aspect, hey, we're in this together. And it's one of the few times, because a lot of times you go work on a movie, if I go work on a production, I'm there for an hourly rate.
Right.
And if I leave,
You're
they
a
don't
mercenary.
care. I'm a mercenary. And I'll straight up tell people, like, oh, why are you on this one? Because this one paid more than that one. Right. Sometimes that's how it is. Right. Of course, I always want to work on the project that is going to be the most fulfilling, and have the most impact. And you always want that, of course. But sometimes this is not how it is. Right. You have Honey 2, or you have, whatever, something like, who knows? Like, did anybody watch Honey 1?
No,
I watched Honey 1. I watched Honey. Jessica Alba?
It was Jessica Alba.
Yeah. Let's go, Jessica.
He's like, Jessica Alba. He's like, all in, right? Yeah.
She was the it girl for a minute.
Yeah, for a minute.
Kind of off on a crazy tangent there, but
No, I like it. It makes sense. It makes perfect sense, because what stands out to me, and Nick, you can tell me if you can relate to this. It's like, the interesting thing is sort of the dynamic between financier and filmmaker, which every film is just a business. So how does a business make money? A business makes money by building something. So a business has to build something to make money. Well, how does a financier make money? They make money by extracting dollars on the sale. You see? So how do you get those two things to align? And a lot of times there's a disconnect between the two, to the degree where the financier doesn't understand what you're building, which is partially why it's hard to get financing for movies, because you have to communicate what you're going to build and why it's going to make money. And then sometimes the artist doesn't understand really what the financier wants and what those investors want on the back end, and how they expect and what they expect to make on the back end as sort of compared to their other investments that are more straightforward. And so when the cast actually has skin in the game, without really having to tell them or them go get an MBA or anything like that, they kind of understand that the only way they're going to nut out of this thing is to make a great movie. Yeah. And so what you said got me thinking about that. The other thing I thought about too is, I think some of the lessons me and Nick have learned, and I've shared this with a lot of independent filmmakers, which is, if you don't have the pieces in place, there is no movie. And I think what I see independent filmmakers do all across the board is run straight towards the movie, regardless of the situation. So basically they put themselves on a social trap, Nate. So you could tell me if you can relate to this, where it's like, okay, I told everybody that we're going to start shooting on August 1st. I've locked in location. I've done location scout. These people are all in. Maybe if I had to pay for locations, maybe I've already paid for them. So no matter what, we have to shoot on August 1st, right? Even though you didn't get the cast you needed yet, even though you might not have all your financing yet, all the different things that could happen. Maybe you haven't crewed up in the right way yet.
Yeah.
You don't understand how you're going to get the rebate back yet from the state or city you've chosen to shoot in, the state you've chosen to shoot in. So it's like, to me, if those things aren't in place, there's no movie.
Yeah.
Like because as an investor, you're like, wait, there's no product. You didn't make me anything. Like, you didn't build it yet.
Yeah.
Like, so it's I live on both sides of that, sort of intellectually and philosophically. Whereas I kind of get that you told your friends and family and cast that you're going to shoot on August 1st, but you do realize if you go forward with that plan, your movie will make $0.
Yeah.
You'll have to take a terrible shotgun services deal on the distribution side.
And it's hard, right? Because when you're looking in the indie world, you don't have the flexibility of assets and funding to make
marketing.
Marketing is a huge part of it. A lot of these films, I mean, you look at all the major Marvel movies, that sometimes they'll spend more money on the marketing than they will on the movie.
Absolutely.
Hundreds of millions of dollars on the movie.
Yeah.
I mean, remember when I worked on
Indiana Jones, Nate, Disney just said they lost $400 million Q1 on Marvels and on Indiana Jones. And it was marketing loss.
Wild. Marketing loss.
Yeah.
Marketing.
Because the movie didn't do what the marketing said it was going to do, basically. Anyway, continue.
Working on when I worked on Jungle Cruise, initially I got hired on the second unit for that, which the second units in the big movie world is all the stunt units. So you usually don't have the main talent, or you'll have them very limited times. You're just filming the stunts. You're filming the action that takes place after the conversations with the main cast. And initially we were only supposed to be there a couple weeks, and that turned into a 3-month shoot on the second unit. I mean, you're like, how does that
all of a sudden?
And then they reshoot most of it. It's like, and they come back 6 months later and reshoot most of it.
All of a sudden, it's a Francis Ford Coppola set.
Yeah. And so but when you and I go out to make a movie, when our team got to go out and make a movie, and we're trying to scramble whatever small investors we have, or just pooling it from whatever resources that we can bring to the table for it, we don't have you have to shoot August 1st, because that's the restaurant that you need. That's the day they're doing internal cleaning stuff, and they're going to be shut down, and it's the only day they'll give you. You can't afford to shut down the other restaurant. Whatever the situation is, you don't have the funds to push it 2 months, or you don't have the funds to add 3 more weeks to your shoot. You just don't. And so that's
or at least we perceive we don't, right? Yeah. The rigidity I've seen around sort of fresh ideas is real, because you're taught to do a thing a certain way, and you're taught to rinse and repeat. And some of this comes from film school. I don't want to blame them completely, but I would say what happens is we used to say the phrase, which isn't ours, but like, as above, so below. And so you're trying to shoot it the way you think a studio would shoot it. But I would say, since you're indie, because one thing that you said is so spot on, the flexibility and the financing isn't there. So you can't do pre-pro the way you were taught, or the way that a studio would do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
you just flat out can't have that location
Chris,
booked before you have the other things that make your movie successful booked.
Yeah, I wanted to jump back to that idea of bringing the folks in, kind of like on that downtime. Yeah, because I think the piece of the puzzle that we didn't really emphasize is that the folks that are working with you are working, right? They're working cast, they're working crew, like they're working, right? So they do have income coming from somewhere else, and they're not dependent upon what was going on with the film that you're doing. And some of the things that Chris and I have been talking about, I've been out on Reddit asking all sorts of questions and having conversations with folks. And one of the themes that I've seen from many seasoned people is that, like, the industry is hard and the work is hard and it's arduous. And I think even one of our guests, Angus Benfield, had said, it's tough and it sucks sometimes, right? Like, and it can suck the life out of you, even though this is the profession that you chose. Yeah. So they're working on these sets and they're working these long days, doing the thing that they're skilled to do, doing the thing that they potentially love. And that's the hard part, is that, are they really loving that work? Maybe not, right? So they're willing to not get paid for the thing that they love, which is making something that they feel they're a part of, that they have input into, and that they really feel that word that you were saying before, which is together,
Yeah.
right? They actually feel a sense of community,
Yeah.
and they're willing to hustle and work for the love of it. And they want to make money at the end. It'd be great if it got sold. And like you were saying earlier, I think Chris alluded to, is that now they can put everything into this thing and say, hey, look, if I give it everything I have, I know that we're going to make something that is actually worth selling. If it doesn't happen, we understand it, because this is independent filmmaking, right?
Yeah.
We don't know that it's going to happen, but I'm going to give it everything I've got, because I want to be together. I want to be part of something, and I want to take this skill that I have on this job that I was just on for 10 hours, and I actually want to remember the love. And that, I think, is huge, and probably why everyone, well, not everyone, but a lot of people signed on for that option.
Well, and I think there's a lot of, we discussed one thing we were chatting about before we started was talking about how you're only as strong as your weakest member. Kind of going back to this sports metaphor, you're only as good as that weakest person on the team. And part of that too is you need to give those team members every opportunity to show their strength. Mm-hmm. They're coming on there, especially in the indie world, they're coming on, they're working at a lower rate, or they're volunteering their time, or they're investing their time, whatever it looks like. But they are there to support what you're trying to create. They're supporting that project. So they're going to do the best that they can. And as a director, as a producer, as a leader, department head, whatever it is, giving those individuals the space and the opportunities to show their strength and perform how they want to add to that project and to make it the best it can be. There's a lot of value you can get from that. Going back to the comment, whatever the situation is, you might have that restaurant or whatever, you think it's the only one. As a director, you could be so narrow-minded on like, well, it's got to be, this is the restaurant.
Right.
What it has
Exactly.
to be. But if you have an art director you brought on, you have a location manager you brought on, they may have some suggestions. You're like, no, look, we could do something like this here, and it will be cheaper, and we can have a different date, and that will line up better with the actor schedule. Whatever it is, all of a sudden now, if you kind of trust, you brought them onto your project for a reason. They're there to help you. They want to make this the best that they can. So giving people the space to be part of that team is huge.
Yeah. Can you speak to that a little bit more from the perspective of the studios? Again, this is something that we've heard from prior guests, is that in the studio, the bigger it is, the bigger the budget, the greater the level of rigidity there is when it comes to applying your skill, right? Independent, you can be more creative, more artistic. You can, like Chris mentioned earlier about flexibility. If you're not a department head at a studio film, can you talk to the levels of rigidity that exist for everyone below? Is it that place where like the department head is the one who is allowed to have that artistic vision and is allowed to spread their wings, but then everyone else has to just use your technical skill to follow that vision? Or do you get to just, at least, you can't spread your wings, but can you at least open it up and flap a little bit?
Yeah, it depends on, the biggest thing is it depends on who you're working for.
Okay.
Right. And the dream for all of us, right? It's just like when an athlete, every athlete going into the draft has a team they want to play for, every single one of them. Mm-hmm. Right.
Yep.
But they're going to get stuck with whoever drafts them.
Right.
Now they're happy to be playing the NFL 100% or whatever, whatever NBA, whatever it is, we're all happy to have the job. We want the job. We're happy to have the job. There's going to be different people you would prefer to work with. And the big part of that is what sort of space you're given to spread your wings and have some creativity in the individual job. But the wonderful thing about just filmmaking in general, whether it's the biggest production out there or the smallest production out there, is that every individual person does really have an opportunity to put creativity into that. Yeah. It may not look exactly the same to every person or everything, but there's just so many elements. I mean, in filmmaking, you need the guy that can take apart a motor with his eyes closed and put it back together with his feet, as much as the person that's done nothing but study fashion for the last 20 years. You know, as polar opposite as it can be, you're going to end up with a project where you need both those people. And if both those people don't bring their skills, you're not going to have image. And, the guy taking apart the motor may have 3 other people that all they do is make sure his tools are clean and where they're supposed to be. But that person cleaning the tools, supporting that guy to do what his job is. And maybe he comes up with a labeling system that saves the dude so that, 10 minutes of finding things, right? Like those opportunities are there. And part of being human beings and being creative is finding opportunities and ways to be creative in what you do. Providing a little suggestion. I mean, there's times where if I'm just working in a lighting department as a set lighting person, I could every now and then be like, well, maybe if we bring the light over here and kind of rake it in the background or something. So every now and then, Gaffer would be like, hey, that's a good idea. I didn't think about that. Let's do that. Not always, and you got to watch it, right? Or there's times where I've worked as a dolly grip and I've suggested, a little movement or how to do the shot that they want to do. It's still the same shot. I'm still accomplishing what they want to do. I just suggested a slightly better way of how to do it that helped add to that whole process and just was part of the overall creativity. So, I think sometimes, particularly newer filmmakers, they think, well, I have to be a director of photography to be creative, or I have to be a director to be creative. And there's so many opportunities to be creative in every position that you do. And it's just a matter of looking for that and finding that and being creative to find those creative opportunities.
I like it. Completely agree. It goes back to what you said about being the guy who's holding a boom mic when you were 17 years old. And you do have to have some specific knowledge so that the producers know what you're being hired to do. But film is really helpful when you can be a generalist and know a little bit to be dangerous. You mentioned you don't animate at your animation studio, but I would say that you probably know enough to be dangerous, or when someone's not doing their job well. And if you don't, you should figure that out really quickly, because you do need to know how to do everybody's job a little bit. If you're CEO, or if you're running the company, or if you're the principal of the thing, or you're the director on the set. For me, and I don't know if everybody does this, but I think it's really valuable to bring your editor on set if they'll come. Because if you're looking at, can we shoot this? How do we need to shoot this so that you can actually do the thing we're trying to accomplish in the story?
Yeah.
Right. Especially if you're using visual effects, let's say, right? If somebody's going to explode or disappear, or somebody's going to walk through a wall or anything like that, you don't want to shoot it and then your editors say, oh, I can't use this. Like it doesn't work. And this is why there's actually a technical obstacle that we would have to go back and reshoot for you to overcome, versus like handling it on the spot and getting exactly what he or she wants or needs and getting the coverage you need right then and there. And so it's just like some of those things where you can, it's interesting. You don't have the schedule and financing flexibility as an indie, but you have the set flexibility if you'll allow yourself to do it.
You got to be careful bringing the editor on set. I'm just going to tell you this, because if there's too much light, I'm saying, editors don't like light, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like they walk out like this, like
in their bay. But in the movie they love light.
Yeah,
and so we were at I don't know if it was a 54 Nick or a 48, and they bring all the directors up, and these are like first time directors, a lot of them, and they're put under the gauntlet of trying to finish a short film in a certain period of time. And I've mentioned this before, but it was powerful to me. It was like they went down and asked, what would you change? What would you change? What would you do differently if you had it to do it all over again? And every one of them, for the most part, said, listen to my team more. Trust my team more. Like they thought, I'm the director.
Yeah.
So I have to be in charge, and I need to be sort of singular in my vision when there's feedback you can take to make the movie better, to your point.
Yeah. Now, the challenge is the time, though, Chris. That's one of the challenges with the 48 and the 54.
I think time, and also who to trust.
No, but it gets in your head, is my point, is that you're going against the clock.
Yeah.
So every deviation and every conversation is time off the clock.
Tick-tock.
That's right. And you can't, it's hard to get that out of your head. So I totally get that.
And that's part of being, I think that's part of a big thing for me, whenever you're in a directing role or you're in a department head role or producing role, you are a leader, right? Yep. You have people under you that are looking to you as that leader. And part of being an effective leader is knowing when you have to make that call and knowing when you need to maybe get a recommendation from somebody else on what the best thing to do is. Because exactly right. I mean, time is money, and there's no one else on the set that knows that better than the director that's financing his movie. Right? Yeah. You're standing there and you're like, I have this kid for 40 more minutes, and then he becomes a pumpkin, and we can't use him again. Right.
Yep.
And I'm waiting on the lighting guys to figure out this generator issue, whatever it is. Like, the DP is like, oh, I need that light. And as a director, I'd be like, okay, do you need that light? Or is this already good? Do we like how it is right now? Because we got to get this kid, like, what's more important? And there's times where you have to make that call. And there's times where maybe that light is more important. You just got to wait. And then you got to figure out, maybe take a shot off instead or something. It's a balance.
Which your line producer should have already let you know anyway, but.
Right. They're coming on set. They're like,
whatever.
You guys were supposed to wrap 40 minutes ago. I don't know why you're worried about
or even before you got on set, just, hey, if we take out this scene and that scene, you'll save this much money and this much time, and they're not necessary to the story. Me and Nick have worked with filmmakers where there's things already shot, and we've recommended them to take an entire scene out, and it's so painful because they've already shot it. That money's already spent. And if you can somehow be involved in the film, and on this particular film, to be fair, we weren't involved in pre-pro, but had we been, maybe we could have said, this isn't even need to be shot.
Right.
Yeah.
And then sometimes, though, on the page, it's like, okay, this is going to be important. And then it didn't perform right. It didn't shoot right. It didn't pace right, whatever it is. And you're like, oh, you don't need it. And then you have to sort of kill your darlings. And that's always painful. But if you can have a good line producer or have folks in your corner that you trust that can tell you before you spend the money and spend the time and shoot, hey, let's cut all this stuff here. That's chef's kiss. That's the best thing you can hope for.
That's where having a little bit of exposure, like you're saying, having the knowledge of the other aspects of that, what it takes to make those things happen is really valuable, because that line producer can look at it and be like, look, your night exterior on the lake inside the boat, that's expensive, and it's going to be a lot, and there's a lot of aspects there. Maybe we can look at how to change that. It's just, there's a value in what you were saying with knowing those things, because if you don't know and you just get into it, now you have to do it. You have no choice. You got to spend the money. You're there. You got to make it happen. That's one really interesting thing in the animation world, is that everything happens sort of simultaneously. There's really no exactly defined pre-production, production, and post-production, like we're used to in the narrative filmmaking world, right?
Yeah.
You are kind of doing it all at once. There's a bit of like a development phase, right? But and this is something that, like, what we've done, and this is going back to kind of trusting your people, is we've looked at, and we've, over the last couple of projects that we've done, and Splash being the first major project that we finished, we really used that as a way to kind of define our workflow for how we were going to do future projects.
And Splash is your short film.
Yeah, Splash is our short film. So we finished Splash right at the beginning of 2024 in January, and started submitting it to film festivals all around the world. We are currently in 9 film festivals.
But it's nothing like the feature, or is it?
It's very short. It's 3.5 minutes.
No, I'm saying it's nothing like the feature that came out in the 80s with Daryl Hannah.
Oh, no.
Right.
Yeah. Was it Tom Hanks?
Was it Hanks or was it Calvin Klein or Kevin Klein? Kevin Klein.
That was the Calvin Klein.
They might have been. Kevin Klein might have been wearing Calvin Klein.
It's Ron Howard directed the movie, which is fun. Ron Howard's one of my favorite filmmakers, because he just has so many diverse.
Oh, he's the man. He's the man.
Give him a movie, he's going to be decent.
100%. So 9 festivals now. Any laurels? How are you doing in the festivals?
9. We were a finalist. We've been a finalist in 1. All the other ones are as of right now, are official selections, and we have quite a few others that we've been submitted to, so that we're waiting to hear back. So we're very early in the festival run. The most exciting ones of recent, we just got accepted into Sunderland Shorts Film Festival in Sunderland, UK,
Nice.
and we got accepted into the Georgia Shorts Film Festival here in Atlanta, Georgia.
You guys should submit to the Nashville Film Festival. It's Oscar qualifying.
Yep.
Absolutely, we'll have to do that.
Yep.
See how it does. You know, one thing I love of many things that I love about Nick is that me and him and people that like are just watching us probably aren't aware, but we're like at level 10 relationship wise. We're really so elevated. Like he can just be honest with me. And I can just be like, we just say the stuff now. It's such a great place to be, like in a relationship. Like I don't have to tiptoe around too much. He doesn't have to tiptoe around me too much. And even when we're upset with each other, it's not the end of the friendship, or it's not we're like family now. And I'm just curious, who is that for you? Like when you're not sure if something has good taste, which is so important. Who do you go to get the honest stuff where they're not just going to sugar your ass and tell you that everything's great? Because I have a lot of those people in my life where I'm so sort of direct and I'm a big guy as well. People will just tell me what I want to hear, but not Nick.
You're right.
And I have a few other people like that in my life. Who is that for you?
The number one person in my life, that's my wife for sure. My wife will give me her honest opinion every time, not sugar-coated whatsoever.
Do you appreciate that, or does it drive you crazy?
When it comes from someone that close to you, right? Every now and then I'm like, I didn't want to ask her because I knew what she was
saying. But you knew. That's the key, but you knew.
I knew what was coming.
Yeah.
But it's good. I mean, you need that, and it keeps you, and she'll call me out on some stuff too. She'll be like, is this, that's a dumb. Actually, so to be honest, she really disliked the Tiki Feud idea when I first pitched it to her. I pitched the idea, and she's like, "That is what?" It was funny. I'm like,
and yet you still have the posters there.
Exactly. Right. Let me get the script written. We're going to write the script. We're going to develop the idea, and I'll come back and show it to you. Because. And then she was like, all right, this is actually a lot of fun. It's really good. So then I knew. But if she still said, if she was still like, no, this is horrible. Like, what are you doing? I would have not done it, or I would have changed it. So she's got a good pulse on stuff. She's very honest. Kyle, who's also should have been here, but's not here. He's also very much so that kind of person for me too. And he's a man of few words, but direct words. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of times, Kyle and I have worked together on set quite a bit. And there's so many times where, set up a shot or whatever, and I'll be like, what do you think, Kyle? And he'll be like, sure.
Yeah.
Then I know I'm good. That means it's great. Actually, it's really, really good.
Yeah.
He says, sure.
You hit a home run with Kyle.
I hit a home run.
Yeah.
He'll be like, no, you got to change
it. Well, this is why Letterboxd and this podcast and just movie debates are so important, Nate, because they let you know whether or not you have similar tastes and whether or not you guys are seeing the same thing in the ideation phase. So famously, my sister-in-law's favorite movie is Stomp the Yard. And when she told me that, I said, okay, I'm not going to say anything bad about Stomp the Yard, but I will say this. We don't like the same kind of movies. We don't find the same things tasteful or worthwhile or awesome. That can't be your favorite movie in my opinion, but I'm just a guy. It's her favorite movie. It is what it Nathan, is. That's her favorite movie.
Chris,
so we're just not going to collaborate on film.
No, Nathan, no, I'm going to tell you right now, what you're hearing, I'm going to let everybody know, right? Because like Chris said, we're like that. We're like family. I'm going to let everybody know. Yes. What you're hearing right now is you're hearing the elevated version of Chris. Because if he had told you this about a year ago, he would have been like, man, she told me that, I slapped her. Because that movie because that movie is garbage. And you talk about favorite movie out of all the movies that are in the universe. You thought
Nick,
this?
we all mature. We all mature with time. We mature in your relationships if you want to keep.
Oh, dude, no. Honestly, I've said it on this podcast, and I'll drink to that, Nick. Cheers. If you wonder what I'm drinking Calafino tequila. It's the best.
There you go. Nice, nice. Yeah, but mature.
True story.
I love
True
it.
story. And producer Papa Bear can attest. I make this big deal out of having producer Papa Bear and my wife and might have been my daughter. I can't remember who. Come in and watch Triangle of Sadness because it was up for movie of the year. I thought it was awesome. Yep. Woody Harrelson's in it. It was a great movie to me. And they didn't like it. And I terrorized them for 2 days. I followed them around. Tell me why you didn't like it. Tell me what was it? The acting? What was bad about it? What was bad about it? You can't say. See, you can't say. You don't know it. You just know you didn't like it. That's bullshit. I don't think you earned an opinion.
Yeah, exactly. He antagonized them, bro. Antagonized them. But I'm still upset. But I know you are. I can feel it.
Hey, it's a personal thing. When you have a movie that you like, it becomes personal.
Yeah, that's the power of film.
Power of film is the power of storytelling, right? It's like not everybody is great storytellers, right? But everyone has. I would say that everybody has one story that they can tell really well. Yeah. Right. There's everybody that's like, okay, they're going to stand up and they're going to say the same story. And it's usually somebody's dad. And they're like, oh, my dad always tells the story. But they tell that story really well. And the reason why that they always tell that story is because they always get a good reaction out of that story.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yep.
It's the best movie they got to show. Right.
Yep.
So you're going to do it. It's a very personal thing. No one's going to go up and try to tell us because we've all been through it where you tell a story and you're like, oh, no one's listening.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I get accused of this all the time. I'll come into work and I'll tell guys about something like, hey, what were you talking about? And I'll be like, oh, I don't know. I'm gonna go over and do this thing now.
Right. Yeah, I'm out. Nice. Well, listen, Chris, I want to make a little bit of a segue. A little segue.
I was going to segue. That's so crazy.
I know because we segue. That's what we do. But the segue I want to make is because there's been so much. I was going to get on a segue and ride out, but anyway, go ahead. I know, right? Exactly. Very slowly. So I've shamed myself. There's been so much good stuff that Nathan, you brought to the table about, some of the things that you've been a part of, whether it's like the low budget or even the big budget stuff. And you talk about the films that you're doing now, right? With the animation and the studio that you're creating. It gets back to what Chris and I kind of talked to you about earlier about this podcast and its namesake, right? Make It. And I do want to ask you that question, like with all the things that you're doing and you're not slowing down and you're not doing the same thing, like what does it mean to you to make it in this industry?
Yeah, that's a heavy question for me because it's changed. It's changed over the years. When I first got into working in movies and working in film, if you would ask me that, like, what is it to make it? I'd be like, well, I used to say, I want to work on the movies that you see trailers for on TV when you're watching TV. I want to be like, I worked on that. And I've been very blessed and very fortunate to have worked on some of those movies that are on trailers that you see on TV. Right. And I started realizing that this is a hard industry to be in. Yeah. And there's so much personal sacrifice. There's so many hours on set. And if you are not loving what you are making, and if you're not feeling connected to it, even if you're working on some of the biggest stuff, it's gonna drain you and wear you down, and you're not gonna feel that spiritual fulfillment, right? That individual fulfillment you as a creative person. Yeah. And me being a creative person and me being a family person and caring very deeply about the stories that are told and my time with my family and just living life to its fullest, I'm like, I can't waste every single day, every hour on set. As much as I love being here and being part of this, I want to make sure that my time is well spent while I'm here because I only have so much of it. And so for me to I will know I have made it when I have a little more control over my destiny as far as like or I guess I should say, I'll know I've made it when I have control over the time, more control over the time of it. I want to be able to pick and choose what I'm working on and support as many other people in what they want to be doing in the industry. The animation studio is a huge example to me. Every person that I bring into the team, whether it's a small role or a big role, I ask them very specifically, like, what do you want to do? Because there's so many really talented people that, they may be, everyone that we have on the animation side, they've trained themselves how to do 2D line art animation. That's something that's not done anymore. They don't teach it in schools because people don't hire for that. They teach you how to do vector-based stuff, and they teach you how to do 2D graphical kind of stuff, but they don't really teach that 2D line art because it's kind of a dying art. It's not a dead art, but it's just not marketable. They teach people how to get jobs, but a job isn't necessarily a fulfilling thing for somebody. And so what's fulfilling to them is to create the way they want to create. So I tried to find people, and that even in me trying to make it, I'm going to help them make it what they want to do, and help them fulfill that creative need that they have. And then I'll have more time to be with my family on the evenings. I can go to basketball games. I can do more coaching in the community. I love coaching basketball. I might do some community high school basketball during the winter months when film's a little slower. And that's cool. To me, that's when I'll have made it. I'll be able to oversee and run these shows and provide it for other people as best I can, and be there with my family as much as I can, because I don't have that right now. It's tough, and there's so many stresses. Like, you're always like, all right, this show wraps, you got to find the next show. Or last year was incredibly difficult for me, and as it was for almost everyone in the film industry. We had the actors and writers strike. Yep. I mean, I was at the mercy of, and so many filmmakers were at the mercy of other people's contracts, and what they were fighting for were good things. Not trying to bash their fight at all. It was a good fight. They needed to fight it, but there was a ton of collateral to that. Our company, I wasn't able to push forward on a lot of the projects the way I'd hoped to, because a lot of the funding for the company comes from me. And if I don't have funding to, take care of personal family stuff first, I can't put it into the company yet. So it's, it's kind of an emotional question for me, I guess. And that's not a very condensed answer, but
no, well, it's not supposed to be condensed at all. And I know Chris will echo this, and that's why we asked the question, right? It's not a one-liner by any means. And I think what we've also learned from folks is what you just shared, which is it evolves over time. And I think that in the independent space, what we do hear a lot of people say, and maybe a little bit later on in their careers, is that part of making it is giving back. Part of it is making sure that other people around you don't have to suffer through some of the same things that you are currently or have suffered through. And I think that's something, this is one of the reasons why we have this podcast. We want to tell people that there are people like this out there, right? Yeah. Because the industry, as we can say, is like, it can be sharky, right? It can be, there's people you don't trust, but look, there's all these people, and we interview them. We have conversations with them. We bring them on this platform who are not that, right? Yeah. So there are good people out there who are feeling the same way that you're feeling. And I think that is also kind of one of our ways of creating a sense of community just through these conversations. So yeah, it was never meant to be a short answer. It can't be, it shouldn't be. And I think your answer was awesome.
Well, and thank you. First off, thank you for saying that. But I was going to say, even just in treating people with respect and as human beings is so huge. And for me, there's so many jobs I've gone on, little commercial one-off, couple day things or whatever. And you're like, oh, we're going to pay you within 30 days or a couple weeks. And then it doesn't come, and the check doesn't come, and it's day 45 and the check still hasn't come. And, that company just sees it as an overdue invoice, right? But what they don't see is the person on the other side that's like, okay, now I got to move stuff from, I got to try to find the money. Hope we'll pull this from savings to pay the mortgage on time. If we were short that month, or, hey, we got to tell him, I can't buy my son the new basketball shoes he needs this week. We got to wait till next week because hopefully that check comes. Or now I can't throw money towards some of these artists. I got to put their project on hold until this check comes in. It's like, they don't know that. They don't know all the other stuff you got going on. Right. So me, on the flip side, when I'm in that opportunity, when I'm the one paying out the checks, if I tell somebody it's coming in 2 weeks, it better be there in 2 weeks. Yep. Because they got their own stuff going on, and they're relying on me to fulfill the obligation, the promise that I gave.
You're like a Lannister. A Lannister always pays their debt. It's a Game of Thrones line.
But, I was about to say that sounds like.
but no, it's so true, and we try to operate the same way. But we learned that in business from watching people do a much worse scenario of the one you gave. And so, by the way, thank you for your answer and for your candor there. But we've seen people who owe an invoice and never plan to pay it because they get the sense that they know that the person on the other side of that can't afford to take legal action.
Yeah.
And so they're like, well, that's just an invoice I don't have to pay. And it's like, oh God, you're such a piece of shit. I can't believe like this is your take in this industry.
The sad truth in the indie world and in the commercial world, you're going to run into that. If you are in it long enough, you'll run into somebody, and the best thing you can do is just protect yourself. Always try to have a little bit of buffer in case something doesn't come in. And my advice always to other people is just be. I tell people all the time that are working with me, if I'm bringing somebody that's never done a commercial or something and they're on one of my crews and we're doing lighting or whatever it is, I'll be like, put on your invoice net 30, if it's a net 30, and you're going to charge a late fee after, whatever it is. And just kind of some basic things to protect yourself, give you an excuse, or nicely remind those people first. And then, just kind of cover yourself and whenever you can have agreements and all those sorts of things, because, this is an industry that's run by all kinds of different people, and in the world, there's not everybody's good people. And so you just,
and it just speaks to like, if you are owed money for whatever reason, and you're running a film set or you're a producer on an indie film, the importance of having your movie insured and bonded is there. Now that's mostly for, to protect yourself or protect banks and financiers. They give you sort of mezzanine, bridge funding, but it's also good in case your actor bails on you or something like that happens where you can't finish. But also one of these little secret things is to try to find somebody who will insure you as key man or key woman insurance. Then it's really interesting, because then when somebody doesn't pay you and you can no longer afford to do the movie, then the insurance company will pay you because you were key to the company. Let's say Tiki Feud LLC, like you're key man. So if you can't get paid, you can't run it, then the insurance company will pay to lift you back up, in this situation without you having to go get a lawyer and try to chase some of the money. Because here's the reality. So here's something I've never said on this podcast. Here's the reality of what happens when someone doesn't pay you. If you've made the decision not to find them and throw a Molotov cocktail through their window, and you've decided to go the legal route, what will happen is you will let's say you take the high road, you will be let's say the amount is sub $15,000, right? Which is okay. That's people owe $2,000, $5,000. It happens all the time. Let's say it's sub $15,000. Well, one, if you get a lawyer, the lawyer will cost you more than the potential money you would get back. And so you'd have to add damages to the money, and it'd be sort of good luck doing that. If you don't go the lawyer route, you go to the labor board, and the labor board in the state will actually go find the person. They will put a lien on a person. They will try to get the money out, but that person has to maintain like a job in order for you to get that money. They might disagree with your take on how things went down and why they owe you the money. So you'd have to sort of get a mediator in court. Depending on what their stated income is, these could be very, very small micro payments that you get over time, so you still don't get it. They could move out of the state and be hard to track. So it's a really sticky situation that we've gotten ourselves into as creatives sometimes, and maybe in this country, where a fraudster really has a lot of protections baked in, and hurdles you have to jump, not them. You have to jump to get your money back. And so it really goes a long way to be the best judge of character you can possibly be, and work on and with known entities. And I think, Nick, honestly, that's part of why the industry has sort of a wall, and it sort of has sort of this demarcation, because between the known and the unknown in a lot of ways, because you want to work with people are payers and have financing and have a career really in this, and so they stay away from the sharks that the indie film world gets exposed to on a regular basis. So
yeah, the unknown just introduces risk, right?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
The bigger you are, the harder you will fall if you introduce yourself to that risk. And that's why, again, that's why Hollywood does it.
Oh, and
But,
by the way,
yeah.
the labor board, what I gave you is the best case scenario.
Yeah.
That's you get a labor agent who actually takes your call, who actually cares about you, and actually goes. So many of them are like, you're not going to get they actually try to talk you out of making a case. They're like, you're not going to get your money. Like, we can't guarantee this. You know that, right? They actually try to, I've done this. This is why I'm speaking from experience. They try to talk you out of getting your money. And sometimes they won't call you back, or you get a different agent every time. It's so, like, the best case scenario is what I gave you. There are cases like where you're not going to get that lucky. So anyway,
and real quick, before we bring Papa Bear in, Chris,
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that everyone heard you properly. And you said you get a different agent every time. Chris did not say you get a different Asian every time. He didn't. That's not what he meant.
Yeah.
I just want to clarify, Chris.
You could get a different Asian agent.
I know
every
you could.
time. But you are correct. It is not a Bangkok masseuse.
Exactly.
Or maybe Kate should bleep that. I don't know.
Right.
We have to decide if she should bleep that or this.
That was beautiful.
Have been swallowed up. Have you ever been swallowed up? Have you gone through a time of swallowing where everything was overwhelming and you?
Okay.
This is one of Chris's favorite things now. It's just like waiting for an excuse to push that button. I just think about you like one of the minions, bro. And the minion sees that red button and just that's push it.
Well, if we mention Bangkok masseuse, then you have to,
And again. Yes. All right. Stop with this, brother.
Okay, I'll stop. All right. I'll stop. Okay. Anyway,
PB,
Papa Bear,
PB.
come in here and give us a thing we should know.
Well, speaking of wells,
Okay.
Oh,
swallowed up.
Well played. Well
done, producer.
Wait. And Nathan, you said you got children, right? Isn't that what you said?
Yeah, I got 3 kids.
So he said whale, and he says swallowed up. What are your kids' names, bro?
So, my youngest name is Jonah.
Mm-hmm.
So
there you go. There it is.
It's small. He'll be 3 in June, and then I have 9-year-old Connor, and I have 14-year-old Jaden, who we probably want to talk about basketball. He's got size 15 shoes and
holy moly, dude!
6'3", and I will say when you talk about
that'll empty your wallet.
Oh man, yeah, you have to order his shoes.
Yep.
You have to order his shoes. He's blocking my shots now, and you have to be proud, but at the same time, like, man,
you're right.
No, the only way to stop him is with a gun.
No, Chris. We all know this as parents. There's just one way to do it. You cheat. That's it.
You got to cheat.
All right,
PB. All right, PB. What you got for us, man? I'm eager to hear what this is. I want to learn something.
We've been talking about these wells and talked about a lot of water stuff.
Mm.
Nathan,
you look like mafioso for for LL Bean.
Oh yeah, thank you. I happen to know that Nathan is a scuba diver.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, there we
he's a
go.
master
Yep.
scuba diver, and a
Oh crap.
lot of his time was spent shooting underwater, and he has that
Okay.
skill. And so for tonight, we have the question: what is the name of the world's first underwater movie,
Wow.
and what year was it made?
Oh, can you define that, please? What is an underwater movie?
Is the whole thing underwater
The whole thing was shot
or the first shot?
underwater.
Okay,
Whole thing.
got it. The whole thing was shot underwater. I've got a guess.
Man, that's a. I
There
don't know, I
might
know
be an
this one.
obvious answer.
But that's not it, is it?
Nah.
Because you wouldn't do that to us,
Of
would
course not. I
You
wouldn't.
wouldn't
I
allow
wouldn't make
that.
it that easy.
Is it? I'm not. Is it a Jacques Cousteau documentary?
No, it's
you? Ooh,
Doc-
what
is
a
it a documentary?
great
Is it narrative?
guess.
that's
Is it
It's a
narrative?
great.
feature. Yeah.
It's close, but
Usually
no.
narrative.
Great
Well, not
guess.
close.
Hey, that's fantastic, man.
Um,
What about 20,000? Is it 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, Papa Bear?
well,
Stage,
that
come
is
on.
an underwater film, but and
Didn't Disney shoot that for their park?
it was thought to be the first, but that's not the answer to this.
So there's also a scene in Thunderball that's pretty early, but I don't think it's nearly that early.
Thunderball. I didn't even heard of that.
Do you have an offering, Nick?
An offering.
Yeah.
Pass the offering plate.
Do not make me press TD Jakes again.
No,
Do not
no,
say
no,
offering
no, don't do that.
and make
Don't
me
do
press
that.
TD
Don't do
Jakes
that.
swallowing
Don't
it
do
up
that.
again. Okay, go ahead.
Right. No, I'm sitting here thinking about if it's underwater, then I want to say it's focused on like underwater creatures, right? So I'm
It's
thinking
not
like,
Flipper.
no, I was thinking like
Hmm.
Echo the Dolphin that they ended up making video games about. I'm like, is Echo the
Echo
Dolphin?
the
Did they ever
Dolphin.
make?
No,
Did
the
they
Dolphin was a great video game. What a reference! That's a
Echo
PlayStation
the
2
Dolphin.
reference.
Exactly.
That's
What a
Exactly.
one of the first video games I had, by the way.
Exactly. It's a
now
classic,
somebody's
right?
going to hear this,
Like
Nick,
one
and make a
PlayStation.
daggum movie out of it.
Well, there you go. But that's what I was saying. I was like, was Echo the Dolphin ever a movie? Because they had all those video games. So I'm like, was it that? But I don't know if it was ever a movie.
Get the rights to it.
Yeah, we should. I'm sure it's out there, bro.
No. Wow.
I don't know. That's the only one I can think of right now. I mean, can we throw some guesses in there? Can we throw out the fact that like it's not a documentary, it's a narrative feature?
I wouldn't call it a narrative feature. No, I think it's only.
Okay.
It's only.
okay.
Wait, listen.
That makes it kind of hard.
This is experimental then.
Wait,
This is an
it's a short-
experimental
It's a
film.
13-minute film.
So it's short. It's a short film.
Man,
But is
why
it?
would-
But is
wait.
it? Is it virtual reality or is it like is it 3D? Like is it like a normal short film?
I think this is early
It has-
on.
yeah, it's
and I
early,
think this is one of those where
early,
they're
okay.
testing the
gotta be experimental thing.
where they're testing the capability, right? Where it's like we only have 13 minutes, right? We can only get it done in 13 minutes.
Oh.
And we want to show that we can do this.
Producer Joe.
Don't be putting answers on. Is he putting it?
No, he's not. Producer Joe's not doing that. But producer Joe might know the answer to this. Didn't Rolex shoot an underwater film of their Oyster Perpetual, surviving the depths of water to 2,000
Because
feet?
those early watches were like scuba diving watches. We had the
Yes, they were trying to prove that they could make a waterproof watch back in the day.
That's a really
That's
good
pretty
guess. That's a
early.
strong
What year
guess.
would you say that was?
That was 1972 or 71. Year of the Loving Act.
Oh.
Random factoid. Us biracials have to know it. It's like our day.
Loving day.
It's like
Do you
when
have, do you have a
like,
club?
we do. For us, that law is like the day Neil Armstrong walked on the moon,
Right.
or
yeah.
the day they staged that, whichever one you believe.
Yeah, but listen, like if you think about when that was, like it really wasn't that long ago.
Yeah.
That's
it
what's
wasn't.
crazy.
Wasn't that
that's
long
crazy.
ago. Wasn't that long ago.
Okay, so
And-
So
Hold on.
that's my guess. Rolex movie. Nick, what's your final answer?
I don't even have one. I'm struggling right now because I think it wasn't commercial. This was something where they were literally testing the idea of filming underwater just to do it. Like,
Yeah, it could be like Canon or something.
yeah, but
Or Kodak.
but I could. No, I don't know, man. I can't call it. The timing, Chris, you said in the 70s. I'd want to go earlier, especially because it was so short.
That's why I think
Right?
I'm wrong, because it's not
So-
early, it's not early enough.
Timeline.
You know, what do you think, Nate?
I'm going 1954
Oh, okay.
on this one.
Okay, 54.
Yeah.
What do you think, Nate? You got anything? Are you Googling right now, Nate?
Me? No.
Are you getting your cheat on right now?
Yeah.
I was trying to see what Thunderball was.
No, bro. No. He's not
Trying to
Googling.
see
You know what we do now,
Wow.
bro? ChatGPT.
GPT. That's right. Just ask GPT.
Yeah.
So my
GPT.
only other thought was if it was potentially like something around World War II, some sort of like looking at something that was
Like,
sunk or
marine activity. Yeah.
or some sort. Yeah.
Nate's
That's
all over it, man.
that's my.
Nathan is all over it.
Yeah,
Which
because
would have
it could be a training video.
Yeah.
To be
Yeah,
honest,
something
it
like
could have been a
late-
training video.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
I hear you.
What you
All
got
right.
for
What do
us?
you,
All right. What
Yeah,
what is
come
what
on,
is it?
PB.
What is
Okay.
it? Bear?
That's a good one.
Stop torturing us. This is we
Right.
have to know,
You're
we have to know
torturing
this.
yourselves. This is a
That's true.
13-minute
Do this to
silent
yourself.
film released on September 14th, 1914.
Jesus Christ, we weren't even close. So it's Charlie
Whoa.
Chaplin swimming.
See, that's what I was thinking with Charlie Chaplin. And like when I first,
No, it's a Step and Fetch It movie.
That
It's a Step and Fetch It movie.
That predates.
This
Right.
is actually a precursor to 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. It's called 30 Leagues Under the Sea.
Whoa!
Oh my God.
It was later
Oh my God.
renamed
That's good.
renamed The Terrors of the Deep. And it was it was created
Great title, by the way.
created by a journalist and his brother. A young journalist named J.E. Williamson invented the photosphere. And Nate will like this. It was kind of like a tube that was big enough, a steel tube that was big enough to put a person in, that they hung from a boat that went 30 leagues down, had an L shape at the bottom, and they had a porthole window there. And so a person climbed down. There was not a camera made to work underwater, but they would climb down the tube, go into the L part. They used a light to kind of put some light through that glass and film. And
That's wild.
the Williamson,
I'm getting a panic attack just
wild.
you
Just thinking about
describing being in a tube,
Dangling.
being swallowed up
30
by a
leagues
tube
under the
and
sea.
dropped into the ocean. How long is a league? Producer Joe, can you find out how
that
long
doesn't mean like-
how long
Oh,
a league
Nate
is,
might
or
know
how deep
that.
a league is?
uh,
Nate, how deep is a league, Nate?
I'll be honest, I can't
okay,
remember. what
well,
it is.
that's not the panicky part.
Nobody even talks like that anymore.
Wait. He's got panicky part. Come on, what's the
Okay.
panicky part?
I knew it.
That's not not
Air.
the panicky part.
Air is the panicky
it
part.
Nick, yes.
It was an hour long.
Oh, we didn't work that out.
Right.
3 nautical miles.
Okay.
That's so it'd be
That's-
90 miles.
Jesus.
There's no way they made a tube that was 90 miles.
There's no
Well,
way.
You don't have anywhere. You don't have anywhere that.
Yeah, I don't know that it went that deep, but that's the name they gave it. So the film was an hour. It was an hour-long documentary, but it ended up being only 13 minutes that were used because the guy that did it, he needed money to film it. First, they made the tube and they found it worked, and they took some still pictures, and so then they went down with the motion picture camera, and to get the money, he had to promise the investor that it would be suspenseful.
He would swallow. Oh,
So,
no, sorry. Go ahead.
It had a dead horse that they dangled down in the water. A dead horse.
So the sharks would
that
come
they
get
lowered
it?
down
Like,
to draw a shark there, and then
Yep.
a
Poor horse.
diver with no equipment. A diver dove in. Was actually already down there with the horse. When the shark came, he took a long dagger, and up into the hilt of the shark, and killed the shark. And
Killed the
the
shark.
shark
Okay.
bled out, and that was the film. And the name of it, 30 Leagues Under the Sea.
Terror of this
Terror
dark,
of the
whatever, the deep.
Terrors of the
Yeah,
deep.
and this
Terrors
film
of the
was
Deep.
lost, and it
Right.
was found by a researcher at the reference library at the Library of Congress's Moving Image Research Center. And so that guy he went down to the Bahamas, to Nassau, on the Jules Verne barge, and shot it there because the water there was more clear than other places. And that was the film used by the makers of 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, to figure out how they were going to shoot their film. So that was 1914.
And the diver. The diver. The movie is about the diver. That diver is the terror of the deep, bro. I'm sorry.
He went into that shark was just having a normal day.
Normal
Nick.
day.
And then all of a sudden, here comes a diver with a dagger that stabs him up the chest.
No. It's
And
a
a horse.
diver with a dagger riding a dead horse.
Riding a dead horse. He
Shark
literally
never
is
seen a horse.
like biblical, like he's riding a pale horse.
Exactly, like under the sea, and then stabs
took-
and kills. Come on, bro. What kind of
They
person
took
do you have
that
to
film
be?
to the producers that were wanting to make 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, and so they used the same system for that film, and that came out in 1916. So there was 2 years ahead, but that demonstration video or film was lost for 30 years or so. And this researcher uncovered it. And so it was first thought that 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea was the first film made underwater, but it was actually this
So
one.
I was most correct then.
Well, I think
Just
Nick
saying.
was in saying that it was experimental, and
He
had to use the
we
drama.
all had a little bit of
you
correctness,
had
didn't
to
we?
use the drama to
Hey.
get the funding. So think about what you have to do to get funding from an investor. Promise them a good show.
You got to
No,
throw
Yeah,
a shark.
no,
he
You gotta throw a
wanted
horse in the
to
water.
see.
This.
So
this is a
here's the
good
deal.
show,
I
bro.
heard
Come
from
on,
the
this is
shark.
something else.
The shark actually survived that attack. He went to go tell his homeboys, and nobody believed him.
You're right. Hey, no,
It's the worst to be misunderstood. He's like, you won't
Listen.
believe what happened to me today. There was a
This
guy. He had a dagger. He was riding a
diver.
dead horse.
Right.
The shark comes, you're like,
Stab me. You're
oh, the
right.
shark was like, what really happened?
Right.
Like, oh, he's gonna tell a dead horse story again.
Exactly. Like there it is. Exactly like that guy.
This is where. So, fun fact: it's where the term "beating the dead horse." It's where it's from.
There it is. There
There it
you
is.
go. Boom.
Fun
There
fact.
it is.
Yes.
And all I gotta say is this diver is the first Rambo, dude. You realize the size,
The danger he
the
put himself
metal,
in. Nick.
No, the metal that is in this dude's cojones to do something like that. Like,
Wow.
come on. I'm still
it's-
blown away.
and
Like,
I've seen
yes.
I've seen the film, and when I send you the resource link for it, the film.
Yeah, let's put it in the show notes.
It'll be in the show notes. You can put it in the newsletter if you want.
Maybe we can. Yeah, let's get. Editor Kate needs to like put a scene of the movie like right
Well,
here.
it's very short.
So I'll mark
It'll
it.
work. It's
Yeah.
about 4 minutes.
Wow.
You can see the guy go down there and stab the shark, and with no breathing apparatus.
Yeah, no.
Nothing. It's just a,
Exactly. No, and he had the knife in his
Yeah.
teeth. I know. I see it in my
Gee.
mind. I mean,
Nice.
this
No
is
breathing apparatus.
right.
That is.
No, bro.
They did it differently
going
back
after a
then.
shark, come on.
Listen. These past generations, they survived all kinds of stuff like lead paint and all the and no breathing apparatus under the water to
Right.
go kill a
how
shark.
about
I'm impressed with
how
you
about
guys.
these guys that go over
Wow.
Niagara Falls in a barrel? You know,
I'm impressed with those guys.
Yep.
These guys.
But then also they're idiots, right? Like
You're right.
it's like both. It's like I'm impressed with
And
you,
It's yes and.
and you're missing. You're not the most potent weed in the dispensary,
Can
right?
I
Like
ask
you're
Nate
like,
a question?
Well, yes,
For it,
but
yeah,
but
yeah.
before you do that, I just want to thank
Oh.
you for bringing that to our attention. That is a thing we
right.
should know.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah.
That's pretty
It
cool.
is a precursor to the movie that you all knew already, right? 20,000.
Yeah.
This is again
30
30
leagues on the
leagues,
sea.
right?
Yeah, thank you, Papa.
Like
Nate, in all your scuba diving, have you ever had a run-in with a shark?
I have actually. So diving in Honolulu, Hawaii, was one of the places that I saw. I've seen sharks a couple times. This is the most interesting shark story. There was a little white tip reef shark.
I've seen those.
Yeah, about yay big, about this
Yep.
little pup, if you will. So I followed it and was chasing it, and it dives under this big coral rock reef rock.
That's where they
and I
hang
would
out.
go down under. That's where they hang out. So I go down under, and there's like, about a foot gap or whatever between the sand and the rock. And I poke my head in there to see it, and I stick my flashlight in there. There's a massive mama shark in there. And I just immediately was like, nope. Let's go the other way.
Jordan Peele on that shark.
That's right. Like,
I
nope.
did not Rambo that shark.
Wow. Yeah, that's so. We were in Hawaii. We had the same thing. We saw the little reef, the reef tip sharks, and we're at a place called Sharks Cove, right? So like we know that there's sharks there, right?
You're in their cove.
So we're in there and we know what's up, but we're in there and the water is really shallow, so you could like walk in there and I could like kneel down and I'm still just chilling, right? And it was funny because we saw some stuff kind of popping up in the water, right? And my kids were like what's that? And we're there with my wife's cousin, and my wife's cousin's like, oh no, those like that's just is turtles popping up, like you don't have to worry about them. So all right, cool, like we're good, like this just turtles. He knows us, he's from here or whatever. So we're just hanging out in the water, we're chilling, and then it's like it's time to go. So we leave, we get out of the water, we're walking away, and he kind of pulls my shirt, right? And I'm like, what's up, man? He's like, yeah, those were sharks. I was like, dude.
Oh man.
But he was like, well, you don't have to worry about them. Like, you see, we were fine, right? But he didn't want to alarm anybody. But yeah, he was like, yeah, those are sharks, bro.
That's
I was
crazy.
like,
That's crazy.
Yeah, little reef tip. Yeah. Black reef tip sharks, I think they are out there.
It's always got to come back to race, doesn't it? It always got to come. We can't just leave it alone. It's the evil black one.
Look at you. Yeah, don't push that button again. All right. Well, Papa Bear, thank you very much for that. It's excellent. I think we all learned something. Well, everybody learned something in this one.
Yes.
As we always do.
As we
always do.
Nick, do you want to? I think he's on mute. Whatever. Nick, do you want to bring us this culture check real quick?
Yeah, real quick. And I have a couple things in mind, and I kind of want to shift the culture check today based off of some of the stuff that Nathan had brought up, right? So I'm gonna hit you in the face with a culture check. Yeah. See, Nathan wasn't ready.
You do that every time?
You see, of course, man. We got to make it happen,
I do hope there's there's got to be like a 50s style.
See, he's envisioning this, bro. We're gonna make it happen. It's gonna be the big thing.
So Nate, I wanted the whole screen to shake when he says it,
right?
Like it's an earthquake, and then have big, ridiculously comic book font in there. Where it shakes as well. So
see, anyway. Nathan had it right with like that. I want to kapow, right?
Yeah.
Dynamite.
Yeah.
Dynamite.
Yeah.
Culture check. Right.
Yeah, like have Black Dynamite come in and do
Black Dynamite.
Like we could pull up from Black Dynamite and have him, and then the clip art pals. That'd be great.
See, you got it. Everybody's got the same vision. All right. So the culture check really is about like the kind of the independent filmmaking world, and I need some information from you as well, Nathan. I think that, like Chris was saying, filmmakers kind of like we all aspire to be part of that movie that has the trailers, right? And I think sometimes we keep our focus on that big thing. So we believe we have to be a big thing in order to get that. And what I mean by that is like, we want to jump in as independent filmmakers to making, let's say, a feature film and getting it out into the studio, like getting out into the festivals, and then someone's going to grab it because it's the best thing that they've ever seen. It's going to get sold. And then I get into that big thing. I make it there because I was as big as the thing that I aspire to be. But I don't think that that's the way that it works. And I don't think that that's what any of our guests have said. So this is really about the culture of becoming whatever that thing is. And what I'm thinking is that it's really, you got to start small. And I'm not just talking about making a short first, which we always talk about if you're going to make films, right? Make a short first. It's really about what is the smallest, not least impactful, but at the same time, yes, the least impactful role that you can take. And what I mean by the least impactful role to a project, and yet the greatest impact from what you can learn. right? I think Chris has mentioned this before as well. Is like, be a PA, like do these, like be in these roles so that you can be a part of something without having to be the big shot, without having had to sell your feature film to Netflix, right? Start small, but get in there on a larger project in the smallest role possible. So that's why it's like a culture check where it's like, hey, as an independent filmmaker or aspiring filmmaker, maybe that's the angle that you should go to then become the thing that you want to be. What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of really good stuff there. I think a lot about, for me, I always felt like I had a pretty decent leadership personality, right? I always wanted I want to be in charge of people. I want to whatever job on set where I'm in charge of people, I want to do that. And I want to be on the most important sounding thing or the coolest sounding movie. And there's definitely a culture check, and there's a humility check. I think is a huge part of that too. You don't have to be that role, and honestly, to learn how to do that role well is when you step back and have some humility to learn and serve other people doing that, and serve on the project in whatever way you can. If you're the PA, I mean, we've all heard stories in the industry of the PA that worked on the Budweiser commercial, and they made him shovel the poop. He showed up for his first day in a suit, and his job was just to shovel the poop behind the horses, right?
Right.
But he did it, and then now, that's a legend. I don't know if it's true or legend, but regardless, right? It's like if that's your role that day, that's what you're doing. And if you do that with a humble heart, and you do that with the idea of I'm serving this project and helping make this project, you're going to get more opportunities. Because now you're the guy, man, that guy showed up, he was there, and he did the job that no one else would do, but he did it really well, and he did it in a suit. That's no time, a suit, but
right.
But and same thing with making films and making short films and making independent films is you don't have to make the best of the best movie. Everyone always sets out to make the biggest and best thing first, and then they're disappointed when they fail, or if they don't have enough money or they can't do it. Do what you can do. With Whale, the first short we made was essentially a single character, a small seal that's afraid to go in the water. It's a simple idea, a simple character, no dialogue, and it's short, right? Because we knew we could accomplish that. And even trying to accomplish that was difficult. It's the same sort of thing, but we knew, of course, we had all these really great grand ideas that we wanted to do. But if we had started with one of those, would have blown a bunch of money, probably may not have finished, may not be continuing to make these other projects. But if you can accomplish something and do it well, regardless of what that role is or what that project is, if you start with what you know you can accomplish and you accomplish that, and you're humble in the fact that you're like, I have the skills to do this, and when I learn this, I'll have more skills to do the next thing.
Nice.
And I think it will set you up really, really well.
Oh, it's
awesome, man.
It's really well said. And, we can wrap on this, Nick, unless you have some additional thoughts about this particular culture check, but I appreciate you bringing it to the forefront, because I do think, there are other roles, like you can do art direction and set direction and have sort of a big impact on the way the film looks, right? Your DP is going to look through that lens and say, this room doesn't feel authentic, and you can have a big impact if you're in those roles, or maybe your wardrobe and you did a really good job. You went over the top, even though it was a short film. You can have this sort of outsized impact. But I like PA, and the reason why I do is because your job is sort of like ill-defined in a lot of ways, and because it's literally everything that no one else can do.
Yep.
And you can get on set and just everyone notices when you're killing it as a PA. Like everyone notices that you're dominating and like you're working really hard, especially as compared to the PA beside you. like you really get a chance not only to learn a lot and watch a lot, because no one has anything that you should be doing once shooting begins to a degree where you can't watch how craft is happening. So it's this great learning job. and then it's this great hustle job, and then it's this job where you can decide to go above and beyond, make the situation a 3-star into a 4-star situation, into a 5-star situation, just by doing extra stuff nobody asked you to do because they thought you weren't going to do it anyway. And what is that stuff? It could be deciding to bring extra food for the crafty table. We already had crafty. You brought it anyway. Oh, you have a coffee hookup? Sweet. We all love coffee. We're all addicted to it. Bring it on. Whatever, it might be. Oh, we need a extra. Come and hop in and be an extra. Right. And I think those opportunities don't come for like the gaffer. Right. Like you can't, or what, call back to what Nate said earlier. Like if you're holding the boom, we're going to need you to hold the boom. The reason you're holding the boom probably is because the sound guy has a lot of equipment, or he's older or she's older, and that boom just gets lower and lower and lower as the day goes on. Right. So you need that young buck in there to hold that boom up. So anyway, just a couple of thoughts for me on that.
Well, it's interesting. The one cool thing about PAs too, to the reward for that service, right? In the PA world, if someone decides that they want to really stick with that and become an assistant director, that's one of the biggest pay bumps from going to a PA to a second.
Great point.
On set. If you end up and you get your 600 days, I believe it's 600 days. If you get your 600 days of qualifying PA days and you're turning your book and now you're in the DGA and you get your first DGA as a second, that pay bump is a pretty big deal. And it's probably one of the biggest promotion pay bumps in the industry.
Yeah, that's a great,
at least ratio wise.
And a fantastic place for us to wrap this round one conversation with you, Nathan. We hope to have you back again. I hope Kyle can join us the next time. Yeah. But in the meantime, can you tell everybody where they can find you on social media, where they can find you on the internet, where they can even see some of your work, or how they can support you and Well Animation Studios?
Yeah, absolutely. So for me personally, I'm a big Instagram guy. I like Instagram. So for me personally, I'm on Instagram at Camera Speeds, which is really nice and easy. So find me at Camera Speeds. The biggest thing to help me and what we're doing is please follow what we're doing with Whale. That's something that's very close to my heart and close to everyone on the team. We really want to become that quality family entertainment provider. Full series, feature films, short films. We have children's books, working on games. We want to be that encompassing family entertainment provider because we feel like there's a big need for it. So you can follow us on Instagram for Whale is at Whale Animation Studios. Our website is www.whaleanimationstudios.com. You can also follow all the news about what we're doing at Whale Animation, releases for our various shows, children's books and festivals and such that we're in at our Patreon, which is patreon.com/Whale Animation Studios. You can become a member and support us, or you can just follow and just get the news updates. All of that is a huge help to us and spreading the word and just being excited about the projects that we got going on, because we have a lot of really, really talented people that care a lot about bringing quality animated family content to your families.
Love it. Nate, you heard it right here from the horse's mouth, or should I say the whale's mouth?
The whale's
mouth. Go follow Nathan.
The horse died, unfortunately.
Go follow Nate at Camera Speeds on Instagram. You can find him at Well Animation Studios as well. And on Patreon, that's definitely the place to go to support someone in the indie film business. Make sure you go support at Well, or should say / Well Animation Studios. If you love this podcast, you already know where to find us, but I do just want to remind you, we have a wonderful YouTube page. So go to YouTube and search for the Make It Podcast. I'd also like to remind you that we are now uploading full episodes to Facebook and X. and you can find us at underscore Make It Podcast on X and the Make It Podcast on Facebook. If you want to reach out to me, I'm on X at Flame in Your Heart. Your is spelled UR, or you can just search for Chris Barkley and I will come right up. If you want to find Nick and reach out to him, you can do that at nick@bonsai.film, at Reddit at Nicholas Bugs. And I believe you have a new IG page, Nick. What is that?
That's right. They call me Mr. Bugs.
That's
Mr.
right.
Bugs.
They call me
That's
Mr.
right.
Bugs on
Find him
Instagram.
right now.
Mhm.
Yep.
He also has that handle on X, but he's never there. So
Exactly.
they call me Mr. Bugs on Instagram. We have a newsletter, Indie Insights. You can go to our website, bonsai.film/subscribe, and you can put in your email address and you'll get a newsletter from us every 2 weeks. It is fantastic. We have cool gear now. Partnership with Cotton Bureau. The cool thing about Cotton Bureau is they reject 90% of all designs. And so we're really proud to have our designs accepted. And these t-shirts are buttery soft. We have hoodies there as well, tank tops, and a cool phone case. We also have our online store open now where you can buy a variety of things, including this Make It hat that you see here. But my favorite hats too are the dad caps we sell there. We have them in 4 cities, Nashville, Atlanta. So we know which one. There it is. We know which one Nate's going to buy. He's going to buy Make It Atlanta. We have New York. We have LA. So go pick them up. Super cool store, super cool gear. You can find that at bonsai.film as well /store. Just go to bonsai.film and click on store, and we have gear there. Want to thank our partners at Bodega. So if you are just listening to this podcast, please do support our artists this week, our indie artist spotlight. These are just indie musicians from all across the world that are surviving and sustaining off streams and the passion they have for music. So do support. We all know how important music and score is to film. I already mentioned where you can find us on social, but just to make sure, on IG and X, we're at underscore Make It Podcast. We are now on TikTok at underscore Make It Podcast. We're on Pinterest at Make It Podcast. So anywhere you search on social, you will find us, and please do give us a follow. Our TikTok is brand new, so we're still loading stuff up into that thing, but it's going to be a fun follow with a lot of great actionable information. So make sure you go to TikTok and follow us at underscore Make It Podcast. And with that, Nick, can you please leave us with the credo?
And yes, Chris, I can. That's right.
Pow.
Dynamite. Dynamite. All right. So to our friends, our fans, our fellow filmmakers, our family, everybody out there, we have to say, be better, be creative, be engaged.
And thank you for listening. Nate, means the world to us that you'd show up. Appreciate you. Tell Kyle we said hi. And Nick, thank you very much, man.
Yeah, man. This is awesome. Nathan,
Thank
we
you, guys.
appreciate you, man.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, this is great.
Talk to you all
All right,
soon.
guys. Yep.
Thanks, PB. Love you, Joe.